Do you live in a red state or a blue state? Until fairly recently, such a question would have made no sense at all. Let's roll back the clock.
The time has come. You've seen the map. We've looked at the figures, and NBC News now makes its projection for the presidency. Reagan is our projected winner.
On November 4th, 1980, NBC News became the first major network to call the presidential election for Ronald Reagan. And what stands out to me about this clip is not the absolute drubbing that President Carter received, but instead those colors on that map. States that had gone for Reagan are blue. States yet to be decided are that weird 1980s yellow, and lonely little Georgia, which native son Jimmy Carter had managed to hold on to, is red. It wasn't, in fact, until the contested 2000 election between then Vice President Al Gore and Texas Governor George W. Bush that major news networks agreed on a standard red state Republican, blue state Democrat map scheme. That's right, one of the most iconic signifiers of Republican or Democrat identity, second only to the elephant and the donkey, is a modern invention and one born out of confusion. Let me refresh your memory. On election night, news networks flip-flopped between calling Florida for Bush or for Gore or for Bush, when the final election returns showed Bush leading the state by 536 votes. That's out of 6 million. Gore demanded a recount, suspecting that votes in Democratic strongholds had been miscounted. And no, I will not be explaining what a hanging chad is. Republican lawyers then sued. They argued the narrow recount ignored votes in other counties, and the case went to the Supreme Court. And in a politicized, highly controversial 5-4 ruling, the court sided with the Republican argument and ordered an end to the recount, handing Bush the election. Now, by that point, news networks had committed to one red state, blue state map because otherwise we'd all have gone crazy. And here's another sign of just how different things were in 2000. At this point, Al Gore could have tried to discredit the court's decision as politically motivated. Heck, he could have urged his supporters to convene on the Capitol to demonstrate their outrage. Instead, Gore conceded.
Let there be no doubt. While I strongly disagree with the court's decision, I accept it.
What a difference 24 years make. Not only is our country firmly divided into red states and blue states, but election results are now in the eye of the beholder. Now, to her credit, Hillary Clinton did concede to President Trump very quickly in 2016. But Democrats also spent most of Trump's presidency trying to prove that he was a Russian asset. Hashtag not my president. And today, more than a third of all Americans believe that Biden's victory in 2020 was illegitimate, despite audits in multiple states and dozens of court rulings proving the opposite. In fact, the number of Americans who doubt the results has actually grown in the past 2 years. Al Gore's legacy will forever be tied to his fateful decision to put the peaceful transfer of power over his personal ambitions. He was also acknowledging a shared reality, as unpalatable as it might have been for himself, where George W. Bush would be the next president of red and blue states alike.